Well, fantastic. You guys are great in the chat. This is awesome. Today, we're going to talk about leadership development. And if you have, and now coaches, forgive me, but I'm talking to the athletes now. And so you can sit back and take notes, but from moving forward, it's just going to be me and the athletes. So athletes, leadership. How many times have you been told by a coach, by a mentor, somebody to step up, to be a better leader? And then there's no follow through. There's no actual design of, the next step. In the chat, has anybody ever told you to step up? Leader or athletes? Has anybody ever said, hey, step up? And then you felt maybe that you didn't know what to do next? All the time. Bryson says, yes. Okay. Yes. Taj, absolutely. Okay. Well, you're not alone, because I'm 41, and 30 years ago when I was 11, same thing happened to me. Coach came up to me, listen, Jimmy, I need you to step up. I was like, okay, what does that mean? He was like, it means be a leader. And then he walked away. I was like, what am I supposed to do now? Like, I've got nothing. I'm a child. And so many times coaches will treat athletes like young adults or mini adults. We're not mini adults. We're children. And so you're not alone. And that's been happening for a long, long time. Now, the numbers of this webinar are about 30% athletes, 70% coaches. So the good news is that all the coaches on here are the ones that'll say, I need you to step up, I need you to be a leader, and then this is how to do it. And so we're going to talk about that today. Imagine walking into my classroom. I'm your leadership coach. This is what you would see on the board. The 4 L's of leadership. We've got look, listen, learn, and live. And I hope you're taking notes. Now, I'll always take notes. I've got this thing where all the time I'm taking notes. Please take notes, because I want you to be able to take this back to your teams, even present it to your coach. And I want to encourage you, I want to empower you to tell your coach, I want to teach about leadership. Whether you are 11 years old or 19 or 30 or whatever, you have everything you need to have the authority to teach on leadership, because there's always someone younger than you. And so there's this thing called imposter syndrome, where we don't want to step up. Okay, cool. We don't want to step up because who are we? I'm a 14-year-old. What do I have to say about leadership? Well, chances are you've got 4 or 5 years of experience of being on a team, experience of the highs and the lows, the wins and the losses, the communication errors, you said something to somebody when you were heated and they got mad about it and you had to fix that situation. That's leadership. So I'm going to give you a definition of leadership that I stole from a guy named John Maxwell 25 years ago, and it's never changed. In the chat, I want you to write down, leadership is influence. Leadership is influence. That's your new definition for leadership. It's your ability to influence a situation, a person, whether it's a coach, an athlete, yourself. And today we're talking about self-leadership. Look at that. Good. Taj, the first one. Well done. Leadership is influence. So now, if somebody says, what does leadership mean to you? You can just say, it means influence. Leadership is influence. And then you can go on and say that. But today, what we're going to focus on specifically is self-leadership. Self-leadership. All right, let me get rid of that. All right. So, first things first. When we are asked to lead, we should already have done some of the work in order to qualify ourselves as a leader. When you are saying, hey, I need you to step up, just because you're the best athlete on the team doesn't mean that you're actually going to be the best leader. Interesting fact, and you can read this in a couple different books, but you'll probably all know who Michael Jordan is. He's one of the greatest basketball players that ever lived. He never wanted to be a captain. And the reason is because he was a performer, and he knew that there were other people on the team that could lead better. And so in the history of professional sports, the team captain is not always, and more than likely wasn't, the best player on the team. In youth sports, however, our coaches will tell us, you're going to be the leader. And you're like, why? And they don't really, maybe they don't tell you this, but it's because you're the best player on the team. That doesn't qualify you as a leader. That just qualifies you as a person that's going to score the most points or make the most tackles or swim the best time or make a dive with no splash. Like that's all that means. So with these 4 L's of leadership, I want to equip you with some internal decisions that you need to make in order to be a good leader. Okay. Who's with me? Tell me I'm with me in the chat. Who's with me? Tell me you're with me. Bam. You guys are on fire. Let's go. Okay. Here we go. And we got a bunch of people on Instagram. Hi. Melanie, hey, what's going on? All right. Here we go. The first L of leadership is look. L-O-O-K. Look. You got to look around and find out who is influencing you, because we are a product of the people around us. I'll give you an example. I grew up in California, Yosemite, big mountains, beautiful. The bald eagle, the eagle specifically, is just a majestic animal. When you see it flying, it's one of these magical things. It's the American bird. Like it's a really cool bird. Now, there's a story that I heard a long time ago. I was about 14 or 15, and it really made a big influence on me. And the story goes like this. There was this eagle that had a bunch of eggs and was just, sitting on top of these eggs, making sure that they're getting ready to hatch one day. And then the eagle takes off, and there's an earthquake that happens. This egg, it gets shaked out, and it rolls down the hill. Keeps rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling, and it ends up in this little pinned area. Now, the eagle mom is like flying all around, all over the place, can't find it. A few days later, she just gives up. It must have been taken, or, nature's pretty brutal. Well, this egg hatches, comes out of the shell, and it looks around. It's in this gated area, little fenced in area. And there's these other birds walking around, and there are a bunch of chickens. So this eagle gets out of the egg and kind of walks around a little bit, sees the chickens walking, and then kind of models after the chickens. And so the eagle starts walking like the chickens, and then learns how to talk or squawk. And the eagle starts squawking like a chicken, not knowing that it's actually an eagle. Well, one day they have this chicken coop, and this eagle walks up the chicken coop and is about to try to fly. Because, side note, I grew up on a farm, and we had this chicken coop, and these chickens would get up on the top, and they get to the front, and they push each other off, and they go all the way down. It sounded more like a turkey, but it went all the way down, and because it couldn't fly. Chickens don't fly. Well, this eagle gets up there, and he looks up in the sky, and he sees these other eagles up there, and they're just flying like majestically. And he tells his friends, I'm going to be just like that. And his friends, you might relate to this, start making fun of him. Like, nah, you're just a fat chicken. You're just a really tall chicken. Like, you're not an eagle. You're not one of those. Like, just get in line. And so this eagle gets up, spreads his wings, shakes his tail feather, and gets pushed off. And he starts to soar for about half a second. And then he falls down and blah, 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 like this, just like the rest of the chickens, because the chickens taught him how to fly. So he doesn't realize his potential. So he's bummed out about it. A few months go by, and there's this eagle perched up on this pole in the distance. And he goes up to his friends and he goes, hey guys, look. He goes, look, I look just like that bird. And they're like, no, you don't. But in reality, that bird was his father. And he did look like him. But when you surround yourself with people that don't speak the language of where you want to go, or don't have the experience of where you want to end up, they don't recognize the greatness that you could be. So the eagle dies eventually, never gets out of the pen. And the moral of the story is that if we don't leave our comfort zone, we will become like all the people around us. And by default, that's usually not a good idea. Usually what happens is we just settle for mediocrity. We don't realize when we're in middle school or in high school that there's an entire world out there. And so you have to look around as a leader and be intentional about who you hang out with. Now, when I was younger, I saw this chicken coop, and the chickens could easily jump out of the pen, And the reason they didn't, I learned from my neighbor. I asked my neighbor, I said, why don't these chickens ever jump out? And he said, because the food's inside the pen. There's nothing out there for them. They would have to find their own way. They would have to make their own life. And most chickens, probably all chickens, aren't interested in that. They want to be fed. They want to be taken care of. Well, a true leader doesn't want to be taken care of. They make their own way. They go out and they seek out people who are like them, like-minded, just like them, to be able to soar like the eagle. And so I want you to write that down in your notes. As a leader, you have to look around and be intentional about your surroundings. Do your surroundings match where you want to end up? If they don't, you got to change some things. Now, you might be in middle school, you might be in high school, you might be in college. You don't have much say of your surroundings. You're right, but you will. And you don't have to do the things that other people have to do. Which leads me to my second lesson in look. I want you to draw 5 circles in kind of a circle, right? So a circle, 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 circle. And then the little stick figure is you. That's you. You're right in the middle, right there. This is a lesson that every adult that is watching this webinar will agree with me. And you guys can tell me if I'm wrong in the chat, but you become like the 5 people you hang out with the most. Isn't that right, coaches? In the chat, is that true? The 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever people that you hang out with. I think the coaches fell asleep. You athletes are doing great though. Yes, okay. We got one. Nicole, thank you. Appreciate it. Kelly, okay, Kathy, thank you. So that's true. So you can become like the 5 people you hang out with. So I want you to think right now about the 5 people that you hang out with and draw and write their name in each circle. One name in each circle. Now, family doesn't really count in this because when you're a child, you can't get away from your family. And you may not want to get away from your family. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the 5 people that you intentionally choose to hang out with outside of your family. You know, it's the people you have lunch with. It's the people that you sit next to on the bus. It's the people that you maybe you play the sport just because they play the sport. Those are who I'm talking about. Now, here's what happened to me. My junior year, Halloween just passed a couple days ago. Well, when I was a junior in high school, on Halloween night, it was a Wednesday, I played football, and my friends were the linemen. I was a quarterback, and my friends were the linemen, and we were best friends since grade school. So we'd been playing football for a long time together. And they called me up and they said, hey, Jim is what they called me back then. I go by James, but Jim back then. He said, Jim, we want you to come out with us. I was like, no, I'm going to go over to my girlfriend and her dad's house. Like, I'm going to hang out with them, hand out candy. And they were like, whatever. And so they went out and did their thing. And I went to their place and I watched this movie, Spaceballs. The coaches know what it is. But I watched this movie. It was fun. It was awesome. And the dad took me home and I went to school the next day. So Thursday morning happens. Now, Friday is the biggest game of the season. I'm playing a school called Clovis West. And I grew up in Fresno, California. Clovis West is a big time football powerhouse back then. Not so much anymore. But back then they really were. So Thursday morning, I'm sitting in history class and the campus officer walks in and says, Jim, I need to talk to you. So I walk out and I was like, what's going on? He goes, you need to come to the office with me. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, I don't think I did anything wrong. Of course, I'm going through my mental Rolodex. I'm like, did I go through any wrong? Like, I don't know. But finally I get to the office and I see all 5 of my linemen sitting in the desk, just with their heads down. And I was like, guys, what's going on? And they said, don't talk to them. I was like, okay. So then I went to the principal's office, and the principal's office said, what'd you do last night? I said, I was at my girlfriend's house, and we were watching Spaceballs. And he was like, no, you weren't. I was like, yes, I was. He goes, I have it on good authority that you were out with all 5 of those dudes last night bag snatching. Now, if you don't know what bag snatching is, I'm very glad. What bag snatching is when you're bigger than everybody else. You go off and you find kids who are trick-or-treating, you push them down and grab their candy and take off. It's a horrible, horrible thing. If any of you would be like, oh my gosh, that's funny, you're in the wrong seminar. Like, you're not somebody that I would like to hang out with. But I imagine that you're not that person. And neither was I, because I wasn't there. I was with my girlfriend and her dad. So he says, no, you got to prove it to me. So he called my girlfriend's dad. The guy was like, no, he was with me the whole time. He wasn't there. And the principal says, you can leave. And I said, well, wait a minute. How did I get pulled into this meeting? I wasn't there. And he says, well, your friends out there went bag snatching and they wore their football jerseys. So these morons went bag snatching wearing their football jerseys with their name on the back, with a number on the back. And somebody said they saw Leaf, number 3. Now, why did they think that I was with them? You probably know the answer. I was guilty by association. Those were my friends. Those were the people that I hung out with every day. When there was a foggy day schedule and school was canceled, we would go to breakfast together. Like I sat next to them on the bus like they were my best friends. I had known them for a long time. And I thought that no matter what, I needed to hang out with them. There's a problem with that. If I would have hung out with them because of Facebook and MySpace, y'all know what MySpace is, but the coaches do. Twitter, I know what happened to those 5 people. So I'll tell you that in a minute. I had to make a decision because I got to play Friday and all 5 of those dudes didn't, which means the JV line blocked for me. And I still hold the record for being sacked the most times in the first quarter. It's not fun, but we lost the game. And it's very much because these guys went out and they decided to have fun at the expense of somebody else. But I made a decision that day. I couldn't hang out with those guys anymore. I was a junior in high school and I wanted to go be something great. There's a guy named Bryson on here. And he went to a really prestigious high school and he made a lot of good decisions. And now he's playing college football. I'm so proud of him. I'm so proud of you, Bryson. And so you make the right decisions. And later on, you have more options. But when you go and you cause trouble, first of all, let me just take a side note real quick. Listen to me. If you're under 21 right now, you got to know that when I was growing up, when all the coaches who were watching this were growing up, we were told that there was this black book, that anything we did wrong was going to be recorded into this book for history and was going to follow us. Wasn't true. Nobody knows what I did in middle school and high school. Nobody cares. That stuff is gone. As long as I don't have it posted somewhere, you have a record of everything that you'll do wrong and right. And so if you go on Twitter and you go on Instagram, you go on TikTok and you do these things, you post it up there, it's there forever. And it will, if you let it, decrease your chances to be successful later. Because I'm a hiring manager. I hire people. And the first thing I do is look on social media. And if their social media doesn't match their resume for the kind of character that I need on my team, you will not get that job. So, side homework, go clean your social media. It's not as funny as you think it is. Back to the presentation. All right, so I had to decide not to hang out with those guys anymore. Here's what happened though. I found another group that was smarter, that actually worked out harder. And I ended up going further. I got better grades. All this kind of stuff happened. And yes, I missed my friends, but I didn't owe it to them to have a life sentence of mediocrity. Now, pull the curtain back a little bit. Here's what happened to those 5 guys. First guy, who's my tackle, my left tackle, he is no longer with us. He decided to end his life a little short. Second guy is in jail for doing some bad things, like spousal, he was just an aggressive jerk. The center, been in and out of jail his whole life. I don't know where the right guard is now. We have no idea where he is. And the right tackle, he actually figured things out. He's one of my best friends, right? So we came back around after he made some good decisions. But I would have been just like them. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have worked at IMG Academy. In a couple of weeks, I'm going up to work with the Chicago Bulls. There's no way that I could do that kind of stuff if I would have continued to hang out with them. And so the decisions that you make today have ramifications in the future. They will affect your ability to do things in the future. So choose wisely. So that's the first one. All right. In the chat, athletes, what's the first L? Fire. Look at that. Good stuff. Well done. All right. The second L is listen. Write down listen. Now, when it comes to listen, I put in 3 things. I put in video games, I put in movies and television, and I put in music. Let me explain those things. 30 minutes ago, I was playing video games. So I want to be very clear. I'm not saying don't play video games. I was playing Fortnite. I was killing it. It was awesome. I won twice. But that was my way to kind of get my head in, get me ready for this and just relax because, I don't get nervous when I do these things, but man, I really want them to do well. I want you to be able to take home some lessons. But there are some video games out there that actually rewire our brain, and they kind of desensitize us to important things. The one that I always like is I'm blanking on it right now. GTA. There it is. I knew you guys would know what that is. GTA. Now, I played the first iteration of GTA, and I was like, this is fun. But when you're blasting police officers in the face and you're picking up people you shouldn't be picking up to do things you shouldn't be doing, and then running over them, like, it affects you. It desensitizes you. I want you to write down in your notes empathy. Empathy. Empathy is your ability to relate to somebody. It's the secret weapon of a great leader. When somebody's going through something, you don't have to have gone through it in order to love on them. You don't have to have had that experience to be able to understand. You can have empathy for them. And when you spend a lot of time in video games that you're just destroying people and they're getting more and more lifelike, you have to know that that reduces your ability to actually connect with other people. Even though when I was playing Fortnite, I was playing with my buddy Will, and it's our way to social interact because he lives in another state. And I understand. And again, I set a timer, I only played for an hour. But the point is that it can really inhibit your ability to have influence over other people. Because I don't know if you've heard this or not, people won't remember what you say. They will remember how you made them feel. Maya Angelou said that. And it's true, because for me, like you're not gonna remember everything. Maybe you'll remember, look, listen, learn, and live. But you're gonna remember, like, oh, he told stories, and like there's this one thing he made me write down empathy, and he talked about GTA. And so be intentional about your gaming. And also know, this is a side note for, because I've already written out a bunch of these webinars for the next couple of months. Little trick. Where's my phone? Oh, it's right here on Instagram. That's right, I'm gonna leave it there. Okay. Athletes, pay attention. Coaches, teach your athletes this. Let's go with soccer. I'm on my way to a game. I'm sitting on the bus, and for an hour and a half, I'm doing this. And then we get there, and I get out, and we just get annihilated. And the team was just as good as we are. Here's why you lost. You have trained your eyes in tunnel vision. This isn't part of the presentation. There's something I want to teach you. You've trained your eyes for tunnel vision. And so you've come up, and your side view is a little blurry. And so I'm not saying don't have fun, don't be on your phone. What I am saying is that it will literally affect your performance by staring at a phone for 30 or 40 minutes before a game. Now, if you're in soccer, you have to have situational awareness. You have to be able to see. If you're a quarterback, if you're, whatever sport it is, you've got to be able to look around. So before your game, 40, 50, let's say this, an hour before your game, just stay off your phone as much as possible. Don't play any games or anything, because it literally inhibits your vision. All right. So that was bonus, a little bonus for you right there. All right. So we talked about video games, talk about television. Now, during the pandemic, most of y'all finished Netflix. Totally get that. Like, you watched everything under the sun. You watched Hulu, you watched Netflix, Disney Plus, all that stuff. What we watch gives us ideas of what life can be like. And there are certain things that when we watch, it will put us in certain attitudes, certain behaviors, and that hurts us. And so I'll give you an example. About 10 years ago now, I did a bodybuilding competition, and I trained really hard for it. My trainer told me I had to do an hour of cardio in addition to everything I was doing. And he wanted me to do it first thing in the morning. I was teaching at the time, so 5:30 was the only time I could do it. So I wake up 5 o'clock and get to the gym at 5:30, got my iPad right in front of me, and I started watching Breaking Bad. I'm like, this should be fun. I'll watch Breaking Bad. Everybody's talking about it. This would be great. So if you don't know about that show, it's probably about as bad as GTA. It's not a very good show, but I'm sitting here and I'm watching it and I'm enjoying it. I'm like, oh, this is great. And I'm doing my cardio and here we go. And I started getting this feedback from my friends that I was short-tempered, that I was kind of being a jerk. And it was more than usual, but it was more and more people. And I was like, I don't know what's talking about. 2 weeks go by. And I asked my trainer, I'm like, look, I don't know what it is, but I feel like I'm being a jerk to everybody. Something's going on. So we went to our food, and he was like, maybe it's a chemical imbalance. Maybe you're eating the wrong foods. He's like, are you watching, a show when you do cardio? I go, yes, I'm watching Breaking Bad. He was like, stop it. You're starting your day with Breaking Bad with, if you know the show, you know the show. If you don't know the show, it's drugs and it's lying and stealing, and it's not a good show to watch to start your day. So then that very next day, I started watching Boy Meets World. If you don't know what Boy Meets World is, you need to know Boys are the best shows I ever made. I love Boy Meets World. But I started watching that, everything changed. And so the television that we watch, the shows that we watch, the movies that we watch, we can get so engrossed in them and they can actually start changing our behaviors. And so you want to be careful about that, because you could be watching something and then somebody asks you a question very innocently and you bite their head off because you just watched this really aggressive, really exciting, really, angry movie. So be aware of that. And before a game, kind of like the phone, be careful what you're putting into your brain to get you kind of motivated. Because if you're watching a sad movie, now you get to practice or you get to the game and you're just kind of moping. So here's the point: be intentional about what you are playing on video games and like the timing of it, and also get some sleep. Like, don't stay up all night. That's going to ruin everything for the next day. It's about as bad as me waking up Breaking Bad and watching Breaking Bad is you staying up all night playing Call of Duty and Verdansk or whatever just came out a couple days ago, or Vanguard. Not getting any sleep, that's bad. And then also playing those kind of video games late into the night, it affects your sleep cycle. So you don't actually sleep very well. And then you're tired all day and you wonder, why am I so tired? Well, it's because of the day before. Thirdly, music. Now, the music that you put into your brain, the lyrics that you memorize. I've got a ton of lyrics memorized by Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Vanilla Ice. I can't do anything with this stuff, and I know some of the coaches are laughing because they're just like, yeah, and all of a sudden they've got Ice Baby stuck in their head. But you have all these lyrics memorized. And when you memorize a poem or lyrics or a verse or something, it becomes imprinted in your brain and you start using it to create thoughts. And so the music that you have, and if you just listen to music that is negative, music that is talking about murder or, things with the other opposite sex, like all that kind of stuff does affect you. I mean, I think it does, but it really does. So if you listen to it all the time, be intentional about what you're listening to. Listen to something that is a little more positive, more affirming. Now, here's the rub. When I lift weights, I like beats. I like, strong like language, and it's like boom, boom, and the lyrics and the rapping. I like that stuff. But I can't listen to that when I'm working out like with around other people because it's offensive. My point is that you're not going to lift weights to Mozart. Could you imagine like do 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 like or that doesn't sound like piano at all, but it's more like jazz. But you wouldn't listen to jazz either when you're working out. So the music that you work out to does affect your your energy. If it's really slow, then you're not working out. And so I get that. Here's the point of all the listen section. Just be intentional about what you're doing, what you're listening to, because it does affect you. Your the things that come into your ears and the things that go through your eyes, those things are what you create thoughts. And those thoughts come out and it becomes who people see you as. And if someone's like, oh, I just can't stop cursing. It's like, well, that's a problem. Because if you can't control your mouth, then you're going to severely limit your options later on in life, maybe even in the present. All right. So number 2 in the chat, what is the second L? Good job. Listen. Well done. All right. I'm excited and we are on time. This is good stuff. Okay. Thank you everybody for being here. I haven't lost anybody yet. This is great. All right. So the third L is learn. The third L is learn. Be intentional about your learning. All you athletes, you're student athletes. You're in school. Don't leave school without an education. Don't do it, because then you got to spend the rest of your life playing catch up. And you have plenty of things that are being obstacles outside of you not being able to read, you not being able to think, you not being able to problem solve. Now, as adults, a lot of us have done a disservice to a lot of kids by making everything easy. And that's not going to help you later on in life. And so, if you want to be an achiever, if you want to be successful later on, you have to learn to be a problem solver. You have to know where to look for the information and not just be like, oh, I'll just you look it up on my phone. It's like, wait a minute, what if you could look it up in your head because you actually have given that kind of stuff kind of thought. Now, if you're not a reader, you need to start. I read up until about seventh grade, and I stopped reading until about my senior year when I was introduced to Shakespeare. And for some reason, it just knocked my socks off. I mean, to be or not to be, that is a question whether it's nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows about. I mean, I have that stuff memorized. I love it. But I feel so I wish I would have read earlier, because now I read all the time. And the books behind me is a small portion of the books that I have. I have a garage full of books. I love to read because reading is where the clues of success are. And success is not a secret. It's not magic. There are clues everywhere. You just have to be intentional about finding them. Now, when I was in high school, I pulled my hamstring. I was playing football. I pulled it in a game, and I sat out the rest of the game. It was a huge bummer because the next week was going to be a pretty big game. So I went to the library first thing Monday morning, and I went into the sports section, and I just started looking at first period off. So I started looking through all these biographies for athletes that had been injured and how they dealt with those, because I knew how my trainer was going to do it. They were just going to ice it, and I was going to sit at practice. And I was like, no, I got to do something better. I got to be able to do this. So I found this book by Walter Payton. It's his biography. And he talks about how when he would get hurt, that he would close his eyes and he would breathe and he would meditate and imagine white blood cells fighting and healing up his injuries. And I thought, well, that's silly. Like that's a little woo-woo for me. Like, I don't know about that. And then I watched a video of him talking about it. I was like, you know what? This guy has never missed a game. And he's one of the best running backs of his time, maybe ever. And he was a good dude too. They have a character award literally named after him. So I read all that stuff, and then I watched the video, and I started doing that. And I started massaging my leg just like he said that he did. And I started eating really clean. I didn't have my donuts for lunch. Instead, I tried to have a sandwich and some fruit and vegetables. And on Thursday, I was cleared to play on Friday. And my trainer was like, it's a miracle. Like, you couldn't walk. I could feel it, the bruising. I got all that stuff. Here's my point. My point is that the information of the people around me that were supposed to have information, they didn't have all of it. I took it upon myself to go to the library and find those answers. And you can do the same thing. So I want to encourage you to do that. The second part of learn is, if you're a seventh grader at middle school, I bet you there's an eighth grader that wouldn't mind sharing some things with you if you just asked. If you're a freshman or a sophomore, you might be afraid of the seniors and the juniors, but if you ask them to help you, there's a good chance they'd be like, okay, I'll help you. Now, on the flip side, if you're an eighth grader, or if you're a junior and a senior, go and help those younger kids. When you go to a camp or you go to a conference, you come back, you teach the next generation. Don't be like the older people that, when you were a freshman, maybe the seniors are mean to you. Stop that. You don't need to carry on that tradition. So for me, I was a sophomore in high school, and I got pulled up to varsity football, and I was so excited, but I was terrified because they lifted heavy weights. And on Monday, I went to the gym, and I walk in, I'm a sophomore quarterback, and I'm like, man, this is crazy. And my hero, a guy named Robbie Bogdanovich, he was my hero. His girlfriend, his name is Trish. She was the captain of the cheer team. Like, when she walked in, it was like doves flew. Like, it was amazing. I loved that couple. And I especially loved Robbie. And I was sitting there, and I got underneath the bar, and I'm doing squats, and I'm doing 5 by 5 because that's what I read in a magazine. that's all I know. So I've got 135. So I've got 45s on the bar. And I go down, I do my 5 sets. And I go to rack it, and I feel this hand behind me. And I look behind me, and it's Robbie. And Robbie's like, you got one more set. And I was like, no, I don't. My legs are already shaking. He's like, you got this. So I racked it and I was like, okay, here we go. He's like, hold on. And he put another 45 on each side. So now I've got 225 pounds. I've never lifted that in my life. I've never squatted that in my life. He goes, I believe in you. And I was like, I don't. I'm terrible. Like, I can't do this, Robbie. He was like, come on, I got you. I got your back. I believe in you. Here we go. It's like, okay. So I get underneath the bar. And I'm sitting here and like I'm already, like if you've ever lifted weights, you know that if you're squatting and you don't have the core strength, that you like kind of go like this. I was doing that on the first rep. The first rep I was already messed up. Didn't matter. He's like, get down, let's go. And he starts yelling at me. I was like, okay. So I go down and boom, I hit the first one. Like, okay, here we go. He's like, 4 more. And I was like, okay, here we go. So the second one, I come down. Now, the first 2 were okay. The third one, when I got down to the bottom, I thought everything was going to come out. Like, I'm going to come down here. I'm like, Jesus, take me home. This is it. Everything's going to come out. He gets underneath me and he holds me and he's like, come on. And he spots me. Now I'm on rep number 4 and I'm shaking and my torso is giving out and everything. And he's like, I believe in you. Let's go. I love this dude. And he believed in me and I didn't. And I was able to hit the 4th rep. Boom, because he helped me. Now, I've got one more rep. I don't think I'm going to make it. In walks Trish. There were no doves this time, but I saw her. She was like, hey, Jimmy. And I was like, oh. And it's so crazy when she did that. I was like, I might as well just, like, I'm good to go. Like, I can lift anything now. But she was like, you got this, you got this. So now I've got her and I've got him. And I'm like, oh, and I rack it. And when I turn around, got the whole varsity team. Like, let's go. Yeah, Jimmy, good job. The point of that story is that it took Robbie 4 minutes out of his life to show a sophomore that he could do more than he thought he could. And I just continued to build from there. He didn't have to do that. In fact, I found him on Facebook 10 years ago or something. And I asked him about that story. He didn't even remember the story. Like, it meant the world to me. Just like if you're a senior and you reach down to a sophomore, or you're an 8th grader and you're nice to a 7th grader, it means the world to them. And he didn't remember because he was just a nice guy. So I want to encourage you to reach down and teach the younger kids, or if they're taller than you, whatever. And if you're younger, go ask somebody. So that's the 3rd L. So in the chat, what's the 3rd L? Good. And some of you already had that ready. I love it. That was good. I see you, Taj. I see you. Okay. I see you, Sam. All right, let's take it home. The 4th L. You guys are doing fantastic. 4th L is live. Here's what I want you to do in your notes. I want you to draw an arrow going up. I want you to draw arrows going to the side. So like an arrow pointing that way and an arrow pointing that way. It's all one line. And then I want you to draw an arrow pointing down. These 3 symbols, the arrow going up, the arrow pointing both ways, and then the arrow pointing down, symbolize the 3 people you need to always have in your life. This isn't just for athletes. This is for coaches too. First one, arrow going up, is that person. You always have to find someone that you're learning from, whether it's somebody who's just a little bit older than you, whether it's a coach. I played volleyball. I tell this story in a different presentation, but I had this coach, Bob McCarthy, Fresno, California, volleyball. And he invited me on the team, and I wasn't very good at volleyball. But what I got out of it was I got a 3-hour conversation with him. I was sitting in the car driving home from Vegas, a tournament in Vegas. And he taught me everything that I still use today on job interviews. Like, it was an amazing experience right there. And I've learned a lot of things. I've played a lot of sports in college and in high school. So you always have to have someone going up. And so in the chat, athletes, what's the last name of the person that you wrote down? Or the first person, what's their last name that you thought of? Put it in the chat. That's awesome. We always have those people. And if you don't, be intentional about mentors. There's a Netflix show about Tony Robbins, and it's called "I'm Not Your Guru." And in the very beginning, he goes, "I'm intentional about who I am. This guy didn't happen on accident. I built me." And he goes on to say that he had all these mentors, and he would be like, "I like the way that guy communicates. I like the way that woman loves her kids. I like the way that guy, wrote a book. I love the way that woman runs her company." And like he had all these different things. And he was like, and I made him me. And so when you're young, when you're not an adult yet, be intentional about trying on different identities. Like, there's a great story that I love to tell about my friend Taryn, who in high school, she was very shy. And then when she went to college, she met with a guidance counselor, and the guidance counselor, because she wanted to find out, like, I don't know why she's talking to that person, but she goes, "I'm really shy and I don't want to be." He goes, "Here's the thing. Nobody knows that you were shy in high school. You could totally start over. Like, why don't you just pretend to not be the shy person?" Changed her life, because nobody at the college knew that she was shy when she was high school. And now, I've worked with her, I worked for her. She's one of the most outgoing, socialite, interesting people I've ever met. But it was pretend at first. And so the idea, write this down: fake it till you make it. Write that down in your notes. Fake it till you make it. Now I want you to cross out make. And I want you to write become. Fake it till you become it. So once you make it, it's not over. You keep going. Fake it till you become it. And when you're kids, you're able to more readily take on different identities. You're like, "I'm going to try to be like this person. Let me try to be like this person." That's what a good leader is. So eventually you start finding your leadership style. That's a good thing. All right. The second one is the arrow going both ways. The arrow going both ways, what that symbolizes is someone to do life with, someone to celebrate, someone who's excited about your successes without being jealous. I've got 6 guys. There we go. 6. I don't know why that was so hard. I got 6 guys in my life that they live all over the country. I got 2 in California, 1 in Indiana, 1 in Florida. They're just all over the place. I know at the drop of a hat, any of them would come out to Frisco, Texas and help me if I needed them. I know it. And they know that I would do the same thing for them. I'm very lucky to have 6 people in my life. Just happens to be 6, but I love these guys. They're my family of choice. Have people in your life that will celebrate with you, that will just with that, without any kind of anything after that. They just are happy for you. Also, these same people, they showed up when my brother passed away. We drove out to San Jose, and we went to the funeral, and that was 15, 16 years ago, but like I never forgot that. So have people to do life with. The third is have someone that you download into. Athletes, I want you to think of a person in your life that looks up to you. Put their first name in the chat. Who looks up to you? If you're 10 years old, someone at your school looks up to you. I guarantee it. I'm glad that you found, because there's a lot of people who look up to you. My brother, he looked up to me. He always wanted to hang out with me. One of my biggest regrets in life is not letting him hang out with me more. Like, he just wanted to go to ice cream with me or, drive around with me. These people that look up to you, look at all those names. That's fantastic. Emerson, Lucy, Nicholas, Will, Keegan. These people in your life, it doesn't take much to make their day. I was at IMG Academy, and I think the same time Bryson was there, but Cam Newton would show up, and he would just love on the kids, like just high fives and spend like getting, eye level and like, "Tell me about what's going on." Like, "Oh, you did good." It was amazing. Every single high five that he gave changed that athlete's life because they were seen. And you could probably relate to this. If you're an athlete and you do something good and you look over and you notice your coach saw you and they give you one of those. Oh, coaches, take note. That's all it takes. All it takes is to be seen. There's this movie called Avatar. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. They don't say, "I love you." They say, "I see you." And for coaches that are watching, your athletes just want to be seen. And Side note, athletes, 1 second, coaches, if you're watching Ted Lasso, I just watched the last episode of season 2. I'm not going to ruin anything. If you haven't watched it, you should watch it. One of the coaches didn't feel seen, and it ended really badly, and they left. And it was really unfortunate. I was so shocked by it. But then I looked back and I was like, there's, be seen. And so you athletes that wrote down people that look up to you, see them, acknowledge them, high five them, use their first name. I'm guilty of this. I'll be like, hey buddy, what's up, homie? What's up, cuz? Like, I do that. It's a lot more powerful to be like, hi, Susan. Hello, Todd. Hey, Taj. Like it's very, it means a lot more to people when you use their first name. All right. So number 4, what was the 4th L in leadership? Live. Good. All right, friends. So leadership is influence, and it starts with the self. And I have this process of teaching leadership where it's do, say, be. Do the work. You get to earn your chance to say something, and then you become a leader. And your age has nothing to do with it. If you're 11 years old or 21 years old, you are a leader. And leadership is good or bad. Like whether you do good things with your ability to influence people, or you do bad things with your ability to do things, make the wise decisions. So that's leadership. Okay. So good. You get some good information from that, athletes, coaches. You good? Fantastic. All right. Here's the next step. So I want to share this with you in case you are interested in joining. So we got athletes and we got coaches. So athletes, what we do is this presentation, along with 2 other presentations, I'm going to send to you so that you can actually ask your coach, look, I want to teach this to my teammates, or build a captain's corner and, talk to your AD. Your AD will love it. I promise. Have them call me if they don't understand, we'll help them out. But I send that to you twice a month or once a month, 2 different lessons. Coaches, same thing. I'll send you 2 lessons a month. You get access to all the curriculum. I just launched a Forging Men of Character, which is a character development for kids or for boys. There's mental resiliency, there's team building, there's all the stuff. You have access to all of that stuff. So if you want to be an athlete ambassador and you do these, we do these workshops, but then also in 2 weeks, we have open office hours. And so it will be in like an actual Zoom meeting where I can see your faces and we'll talk about stuff. Same thing for the coaches. So this is the program that I've been running for the last few months, and now I'm opening it up to everybody. And so you're the first ones publicly that actually get to join this. So if you're interested, go to Unleash the Athlete or utathlete.com. Go to athlete development or coach education. You can sign up. If it's for you, awesome. Stick with me. I'm going to be putting out a ton of content. This is my number 1 focus. If it's not for you, you can cancel anytime. That's fine too. So if you're interested, put in the chat, I'm interested, go to the website, let me know that, and sign up. And so if you have any questions, you can text me. Most of you all have texted me already. If you haven't, make sure you text me 972-236-5924. You can ask any questions that you have, but this presentation will be up for the next 7 days. And then it'll go behind the Coaching Excellence wall. And so you can access that. I will send everybody, let's see. Oh, we got some questions? No? Okay. I will, fantastic. Thanks, Andrew. Awesome. I'll send an outline of this presentation. Use it, make it your own. I don't need the credit. I need you to get out there and teach these athletes how to be a personal leader, how to lead themselves first. Next month, let me get in here. Okay, next webinar is going to be the winning habits of elite athletes. You're going to get an email. There'll be ability to sign up for that. It's free. You can do these webinars only. There's no charge. If you want all the good stuff with it, then of course, pay the money. But the winning habits of elite athletes will be the first Sunday of next month. And that's it. So thank you everybody for being here. It has been my honor to speak life into you. I absolutely love what I do. Please reach out on text message. If you want to join the Coaching Excellence, I'm going to serve you. I'm going to give you everything that I have. Athlete ambassadors, I want to equip you. I want to be your mental performance coach. So with that being said, thank you, everybody. Say hello in the chat. Shoot me a text, say hello. Have a wonderful, wonderful November. And I'm so glad most of you are back in school. So I missed your faces, that's for sure. Bye, everybody.